Affordable gas masks are one of the most requested topics on our channel, so we decided to take a look at two budget-friendly options: this surplus OM-90 used by the Czech army and the new OM-2020, which is basically an upgraded OM-90. In this video, we put both masks to the test and break down the most important differences between them. Let's start with the OM-90 gas mask, which came as part of the CBRN army kit. I bought it from a surplus store for 49 euros, which is a fairly regular price in Slovakia and Czechia. The green carrying bag is made of rubberized fabric. It has a square shape with a lid that's secured with two clips. The bag has an adjustable strap for carrying over the shoulder, and it also has this loop on the back so it can be carried on a belt. As you can see, the mask is still sealed in the original plastic bag. Apart from the mask, there's a sealed OM-90 army filter and also a JP-90, which is basically a disposable chemical raincoat issued to infantry units. You could have seen me wearing its predecessor, JP-75, in our surströmming video. Yes, it's really just a raincoat with a pair of pretty bad gloves and overshoes. All in all, this OM-90 kit is a complete package, but in this video we will focus only on the mask. This was just to demonstrate how cheaply you can get an actual full-fledged, never-used CBRN kit if you know what to look for, at least here in Europe. Taking a minty respirator out of a sealed packaging always feels so good. This is the adapter lid that allows you to drink from army canteens, and this thing is ancient. They were originally issued with M10M gas masks before Czechs adopted OM-90. But what about this mysterious accessory? Most people look very surprised when I take it out of their OM-90s, as they didn't even know it was there the whole time. It's a storage unit meant to keep the facepiece from deforming during prolonged storage, so don't forget to take it out before using the mask. The facepiece of OM-90 is made of bromobutyl rubber, providing protection against all known chemical warfare agents, biological agents and radioactive particles, as well as against industrial chemicals. The facepiece is reasonably flexible, but what's interesting, it always keeps its open shape. I don't really understand why, especially because the mask is not meant to be quick donned and you need to stick your hands inside the mask anyway before donning. When we take a look at the mask from the front, there are two circular eyepieces, voice diaphragm cover or cheese grater as I like to call it, fluid intake system, exhalation assembly, and two 40mm NATO filter ports which allow for connection of protective filter on the right or left side of the mask. The good news is that to switch filter sides you don't need any additional tools. The bad news is you actually need fingers of steel, as you need to use a great deal of force to make the filter port plug budge, and it might take a while. If you were able to unscrew it at your first try under 10 seconds, perhaps you are the chosen one. OM-90 is made in three sizes, one being small, two medium and three large. Size 2 will fit most adult population, but if you're unsure, there is this thing called phase meter that basically measures the distance between your chin and the root of your nose and your face width in order to determine the correct size for you. Good luck finding one, as they are very rare. Even the phase meter I'm using right now is meant for different gas mask types and could not help you with the OM-90 sizing dilemma. I had one OM-90 phase meter a couple of years ago and I'm positive size 2 is the one I need. I didn't take a photo of it, but here are some images taken from the OM-90 user manual. Speaking of user manual, in case you're interested in more detailed breakdown of the mask, here's one with full English description. You're welcome. Nothing out of ordinary inside the facepiece. There is an oronasal cup and a drinking straw. The exhalation valve of OM-90 also works as sweat removal system. According to the stamp, this mask was made in 1998, which is impressive because it looks like new. The rubber and all other parts are in perfect condition. Some gas masks Scott M95 don't age well and fall apart no matter how they're stored, so yeah, this is great. The filter included was made in 2001, and even though it was vacuum sealed, I consider it expired. It will however serve as well as a training filter. Gotta say, I love how the mask looks. To me it looks like a head of a praying mantis, and overall I like the way it has been designed from the aesthetic point of view. More importantly, it features most of what you would expect from a decent gas mask. What's really not up to modern standards is the 5-point head harness, as any modern military gas mask I can think of has the 6-point system simply because it provides better stabilization and weight distribution. The head straps made of rubber textile are pain to use, as they do not slide the harness buckles with ease, but instead you have to pull them really hard, sometimes even one by one. They are unbelievably rigid, but it gets slightly better after a couple of donnings and doffings. What's not so good is that the material tends to curl rather quickly once it gets soaked by sweat. Here are straps for my M10 where you can see exactly what I mean. Different color, but apparently similar material. Although it is nothing to worry about, it looks very unappealing. Upon performing the negative pressure test, I realized the OM-90 doesn't seal properly because of a small gap somewhere in the chin area permitting air inside the mask, and I had to adjust the respirator on my face multiple times until I got it sorted out. I encountered this problem with every OM-90 I was using before. You have to find your sweet spot, and that's really not something you want to be dealing with in a life-threatening situation. This is actually not my first time trying out OM-90 because, believe it or not, there were times when I didn't have the respirators I have now. I conducted a few civil defense trainings in my previous OM-90 and sold it as soon as I could. You'll understand why later. The effective field of view has been calculated to be 73%, and I personally don't have a problem with it. From what I can tell, the vision is not distorted, and what I really like is how the silicate glass lenses are placed, as they are deep-seated and thus very hard to scratch or damage unless it was intentional or simply a bad luck.
The voice diaphragm of the OM-90 is actually quite good because my voice is fully articulate and audible.
Accessory-wise, there's a drinking bottle with capacity of 800 milliliters, but mind that it didn't come as part of the kit. I bought the bottle separately. First, we open the bottle's lid to access the valve. The OM-90's drinking hose is wrapped around the voice diaphragm chamber, and once unwrapped, we need to remove the cover from the drinking hose coupling half. This M-type drinking adapter has been around for a very long time, as it was first used by Americans and later blatantly copied by Soviets, and also became a part of many Czechoslovak and Czech masks. Now you need to press it very hard into the bottle's valve, and I mean hard. The lever above the voice diaphragm cover controls the water flow, so in order to drink, you need to turn it, press the drinking straw closer to your face, and voila, refreshment incoming. Another thing I'd like to mention is that the rubber cover of the coupling half hangs on this plastic hook, and I've seen a few of them with the torn rubber, either by negligence or material wear. Time to perform our rudimentary 30-minute long exercise to evaluate how OM-90 performs during strenuous physical activity and how it feels from wearer's perspective. The first impression from wearing the OM-90 during a very hot day is rather good. Although the lenses tend to fog from time to time, they always get cleared by my next breath, so not a big problem. What was a problem is that the oral nasal cup was slightly pressing the root of my nose for the whole time, and there was nothing I could do about it. It's just how it shaped. In the end, it was more than just a nuisance, because as a result, I had to breathe through my mouth the whole time because I wasn't getting enough oxygen through my squeezed nose. After about 15 minutes of wearing, the discomfort gradually became a full-fledged pain as the oral nasal cup put a continuous pressure on my nose. I was incredibly relieved to finally take it off once the exercise was over, and then I remembered why I sold my first OM-90 in the first place. Next up, OM-2020 gas mask. I bought a brand new OM-2020 made in 2023 for a retail price of 130 euros. That's a very good price for a new gas mask, but the last time I checked, the prices were higher, around 150 euros. That's still affordable in my book. A new OM-2020 comes in a sealed plastic bag, which is also meant for storage of the respirator. We of course already broke the factory seal, so now we keep the bag closed with this brownish plastic thingy that came with the mask. It's a simple but great tool to keep the mask protected from external factors like moisture. Similar plastic tool came with OM-90 as well. Additionally, the visor and front of the mask is covered by a thin plastic sheet that provides additional protection against abrasion during storage or transport. The facepiece of OM-2020 is also made of bromobutyl rubber, just like OM-90. Interestingly, OM-2020 didn't come with a storage unit, but because of how the mask is made, I don't think it really needs one. OM-2020 features a single visor instead of two circular eyepieces. Although the visor looks modern and cool, there are some drawbacks to this specific design. Since the visor is placed in this plastic rim, the mask is way sturdier than OM-90. The visor of OM-2020 is made of polycarbonate, and trust me, this thing gets scratched very easily. What's great is that the visor is replaceable, but the whole process of dismantling it is quite a hassle. You need to remove 2 screws holding the upper and lower part of the rim together, but once you do that, good luck fitting a new visor in place of the previous one so it fits perfectly in the designated grooves the way it should. Also, after the replacement, it is recommended to check whether the mask seals on a specialized testing device, which I'm sure not many people have. OM-2020 comes in one universal size, which is a huge shortcoming in my opinion. One size never fits all, and just to remind you, OM-90 has 3 sizes. Two 40mm filter ports allow for connection of a protective filter depending on the wearer's preference. The filter port plugs are the same as the ones used in OM-90, so the good news is that to switch filter sides you don't need any additional tools. Well, in theory.
Fingers of steel that time. Perhaps I'm not the chosen one, because it didn't even budge. God, this is tight. Gotta say, the factory tightened filter port plug in this one is a nightmare. So after 10 minutes of futile fight, I was unable to unscrew the filter port plug with my fingers. I nearly broke them. So keep that in mind. This is very freaking tight and you might need an additional tool.
Then I realized I could try to pry the plug with a plastic lighter and it worked. Sometimes you just have to get creative. The inside of the mask looks alright. We have an oral nasal cup with 2 valves which guide the inhaled air to prevent visor fogging, positionable drinking straw and a voice diaphragm. Here we can see the inlet valves through which the inhaled air passes, and at the bottom there's an exhalation valve that also works as a sweat drainage system. The head harness of OM-2020 underwent an important upgrade because unlike OM-90, it has 6 straps instead of 5. The 5-point system is frankly atrocious as it does a bad job of balancing the weight of the respirator on your head, and it's great that this important aspect hasn't been overlooked by the developers. The straps seem to be made of the same rubber textile as in the case with OM-90, and I don't like them. You have to pull them really hard, and I assume the material will inevitably start to curl once it comes in contact with enough sweat, which is going to look rather unpleasant. Compared to OM-90, the overall comfort while wearing OM-2020 feels much better, but keep in mind that I spoke to a few people who reported the mask not fitting their faces well, issues with achieving proper seal, and in some cases a serious discomfort. That is what might happen with single-sized respirators and why I always prefer multiple sizes. The single visor provides a much wider field of view than 2 separate eyepieces, and my initial impression of wearing OM-2020 was quite positive, until I started to move my head around. In areas where the visor bends, objects appear distorted, which can be very uncomfortable for many people. Personally, it doesn't bother me that much, but it's definitely something worth mentioning.
Gas masks from Gumarny Zubži were always great when it came to voice audibility. Just like OM-90, the OM-2020 has a dedicated voice diaphragm and it works just perfectly.
In the accessory department, the OM-2020 gas mask is lacking. The polycarbonate visor is in dire need of additional protection, yet there are no outserts available for it. The drinking system of OM-2020 is exactly the same as the one used in OM-90. The drinking hose is wrapped around the voice diaphragm cover, and before use, a rubber cover needs to be taken off the drinking adapter. Again, you must press the adapter very hard into the bottle's valve, but then something very strange happened when I tried to position the drinking straw inside the mask.
Well, this is strange. I can feel the inner tube is moving, but I can't reach it with my lips. I can't get it into my mouth. Oh, that sounded weird. But no, I have to actually press it. Well, something is wrong. Something is not right with this. The tube should be definitely longer. This is strange. I'm not sure if this is a faulty piece or this is a problem with this gas mask in general. This is not good. Even if I press it really close to my face, this is this is just bad. I've never had this kind of problem with any other gas mask, not even with OM-90. Okay. This is ridiculous. What is this?
Now for the usual 30 minutes long jogging test. OM-2020 is much more comfortable than OM-90, even though the oral nasal cap still presses the root of my nose, but at least it doesn't cause unbearable discomfort. There is no visor fogging and the overall comfort level is fine. And no, I'm not jogging through Chernobyl, it's just Slovakia.
I gotta say, I could use a sip of water because I'm thirsty as hell. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks. Folks, if you didn't know, in emergency situations like this, when you simply can't use the drinking system, you have to drink like this.
Now to sum up my thoughts on both OM-90 and OM-2020. Let's start with the good. The masks are pretty sleek, lightweight and made of very durable materials. The voice diaphragm allows for excellent voice audibility, and in case of OM-90, the eyepieces are well protected from abrasion and impact. That's all well and good, but at the same time there are numerous and frankly pretty bad aspects of OM-90 that, at least for me, make the mask not practical or comfortable. Although I bought this kit for 49 euros, I have no desire to keep it and I already sold it. Hopefully this was my last OM-90 ever. I like OM-2020 much better, but still, the sturdy polycarbonate visor, slight peripheral distortion, no outserts, single-sized facepiece, the horrible straps, no thanks. The bottom line here is that neither mask would be my personal pick, but now the question is, are they good enough for casual preppers? Yeah, why not? In my opinion, the current price tag of OM-2020 is justified, especially once they resolve the drinking straw issue. No idea how that came through quality assurance, and it's rather embarrassing, but again, it can be easily fixed. This particular mask was made in 2023 after certain features of the original OM-2020 were redesigned, which is another issue with the mask. There are several versions available, and if you want to get the mask, buy the latest version directly from the manufacturer. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on OM-90 and OM-2020 and which gas mask we should review next. See you next time in CBRN Academy.